You're listening
to the CD Baby
CD Baby
DIY
Musician
Podcast.
Hey there, and welcome back to the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast. My name is Kevin, and we're kicking off the new year with a Roundtable edition. So joining me are Chris and Robert. How you guys doing?
Great. Hello.
Hope
Happy
you guys,
New Year.
Yeah. Did you guys have a good holiday break?
Did.
Write lots of music?
I recorded an album.
Oh, well.
Most of an album.
I always have plans for holidays, like I'm going to sit around and record and write, and never happens.
I think I ate a lot of food.
I got fat, yes. Well, this is our 42nd episode, and we've got a great year planned already. Some really cool interviews coming up that I won't tell you about just yet, but be looking for those. I know they're going to be some of our favorites yet, so lots of good stuff to come. Speaking of lots of stuff going on, there's been a lot of news items lately, so let's just jump right into the news.
CD Baby.
CD Baby. Music. News.
iTunes has announced that its entire catalog is going to be available DRM free, as well as a new 3-tiered pricing structure where downloads will be priced at $69.99 and $1.29. The pricing structure is intended to give labels the ability to sell older catalog items for less and new featured tracks for $1.29. We'll have more details on that as soon as we have them. Well, for those of you in a musical rut, Microsoft is coming to the rescue. Microsoft has a new tool that automatically generates backup music to go with your original melodies and lyrics sung into a computer. The software is called Songsmith. Users just sing their melody into the computer, and then an algorithm built by Microsoft selects musical chords that will go well with the melody. Microsoft says Songsmith doesn't produce a professional Grammy-winning recording, but it is going to sound musical, and it's going to give non-musicians the sense of musical creativity.
I don't know, some of the stuff I've seen win Grammys these days.
It's a new year, so you might be asking, what were the top social media sites of 2008? Comscore, a company that tracks social networking sites, came out with its worldwide traffic stats for 2008, not including December. And it's interesting to note that Facebook has not only passed up MySpace for unique visits in 2008, but in the last couple months, it made huge gains on MySpace and will most likely pass up Blogger in the coming months. Trent Reznor has announced that there's over 400 gigabytes of raw 9 Inch Nails video footage available for free download. The download is available through BitTorrent, but be warned, this is raw HD video footage and will take an immense amount of time to download. The footage is from the Lights in the Sky tour stops in Victoria, Portland, and Sacramento, and I'm sure it'll be interesting to see how fans interpret the footage.
Yeah, no kidding. If they have a 400 gigabyte hard drive, my hard drive's like 80 gigs.
So that's the news. Lots going on. A lot of CD Baby artists have been asking us about the announcement by iTunes. We know about as much as you do. But seriously, we will let you know as soon what's going to happen with the tiered pricing. If we're assuming everything's just going to stay at 99 cents unless you let us know otherwise. And it's still uncertain if they're going to allow anybody to make a track $1.29, or if that's still going to be for select labels.
Reserved for the majors.
Yeah, reserved for the majors. So we'll see about that.
I can't believe people are paying so little for a download now. I mean, I know there's other sites that charge that little too, but...
And that kind of surprised me, because the main point of that was to allow for old catalog for the labels, and it seemed like, they must be meaning stuff that's just sitting on their shelves. They're not talking about old AC/DC albums or old Led Zeppelin albums.
I'm thinking like, what, so Van Morrison's catalog is suddenly cheaper than...
No, I have a feeling it'll be like artists that, maybe sold 10,000 copies, 50,000 copies that no one really seeks out anymore. Right. But you might as well get it online because someone might buy it, and so there's an incentive to...
I had like a bargain bin kind of thing in my mind where, all those AC/DC, but
Yeah, but you never know. They have been doing some deals on downloads lately, where albums for $7.99, movie rentals for 99 cents. So who knows what you'll see. Chris, I know you were excited about Microsoft's release of Songsmith.
Oh, thrilled.
Really?
Now you don't even need to take a guitar lesson before you start writing songs.
Right. Well, I hadn't heard about this, but I think that I wouldn't see this as a negative thing. I think it's part of, sure, it's a part of the video games, the, Rock Band. It's, Garage Band just came out with some new updates for helping people play songs, like little tutorials, and they already have some software that's built in there that makes, even though you don't necessarily know how to play an instrument, you can still create songs in Garage Band. And I think more and more it's involving more and more people in music. And yes, there's the downside that maybe somehow you're creating music, but you've never taken the time to learn an instrument. But I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing.
I just see it as another symptom of the instant gratification culture we have. Music shouldn't be about, I just bought a computer and now I'm a composer. If it's that important to you, if it moves you, you should be spending years at it and learn an instrument, learn how to compose, I
don't know. I don't agree.
It's like those people that play garage band, or not garage band, rock band, and can get to the last level and win all these points, and they spent, thousands of hours playing this game. It's like, just buy a real friggin' guitar and...
That's too hard.
See, I hated music lessons when I was a kid. Like,
you don't have to take lessons, just get an instrument and teach yourself.
It's true.
And, like 5-10 years, there'll be hardly anyone left under the age of 30 that knows how to play a real instrument. It's just all these virtual instruments.
Maybe by then they'll just have a chip they put in your brain and you create the sounds based on imagination.
I would have to agree with you, Chris. Sorry, Robert. That's
we win.
Damn, we're right. You're wrong. No. I see both, because I can see your side where it could be a kind of a starting off point where someone who may have some musical ability gets something where it's like, okay, I can see how this can develop into a song and kind of be a launching point for them kind of getting interested into it.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking, though, is that with all this, this Microsoft program and Guitar Hero and Rock Band, they're all technology driven. And I think people are forgetting that music at its core is supposed to be something that's a meeting of human beings in the real world, just getting a bunch of rocks and banging them together and making grunting noises, and that's music. It's like a communal thing that's not supposed to be you staring at a computer screen.
Right. I guess I really like composing music. I think that's really fun, and I don't read music, so the more tools that are available to me as far as composing music, I kind of get excited. Like, I want to try that, and I want to I like doing GarageBand and all that stuff that I don't have probably the classically trained skills that it might have taken someone before this technology to compose the sort of things that I'm able to compose because of the technology.
Mm-hmm. I get that point as well, and I agree that once I had access to a program that I could put drum loops and kind of experiment with sounds and songwriting stuff, my songwriting skills went way up because I was able to visualize it, so it spawned more creativity.
But as to what's the best thing to listen to, like, I don't want to, I'd much rather listen to a real group playing in a real environment, than the manufactured sound. So, there's that to consider.
Yes, but I think what ultimately some of these things do is keep people from developing their ear and being able to hear music as opposed to just consume it and be the consumer who's pushing the right buttons to create that sound. With Trent Reznor, he's obviously trying to really push some sort of new model, and what I think is interesting about his decision to release this video footage, there was 3 main ideas I thought of why it was a good idea. One, he gets a bunch of different free videos that fans create, so he doesn't have to pay for video editing. Another thing is the fans get to actually be a part of the story, and so it'd be interesting to see how people get excited about the final product and the different variations of that product, because it's the same experience, just different interpretations of it. And then the last thing I thought where it was cool is that, it's HD quality video that you can download, so it's not just cheap YouTube footage, that, somebody who's really looking to get into video editing or the video world, that side of things, it's kind of a cool opportunity because you got this great stock footage and it's your chance to produce and edit it in a way that could be a part of, your not calling card, but maybe what do video people call it when they're little?
Reel.
Yeah, they're real.
their video,
Yeah,
yeah.
it could be a part of your reel that you edited that, because that's all you need is real footage. That's kind of the hardest thing if you're getting into editing. And so someone gave you a free gift there. Just have to set your computer to download it and come back in a month, and it'll be there.
It sounds like the finished product will be a lot better than that Beastie Boys video that came out like a year or two ago. Do you remember that?
I didn't see.
They gave like 50 fans cameras at the show, and they edited it together. Of course, it was all these cheap cameras, and
Yeah.
it looked like crap. But
Well, that reminds me of U2. I thought did something cool on the Elevation tour. When you bought the DVD, they had just the standard concert video that they produced, but then they gave a whole bunch of fans video cameras, and they edited down the concert with the same audio, I believe. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's the same audio, but with using the fans' cameras, and so you get a lot of cool shots of like people, the real crowd shot, not the perfectly framed one going across that, but it really felt like you were there. And having seen that tour, I thought it was really cool because it was kind of like experiencing it again in a real way as opposed to the glossy, cool way that is also fun to watch. All right, and Facebook has now become the place to be, apparently. And so because of that, I mentioned last time I've been hanging around on Twitter a little bit too much, some people might say.
It's Twitterific.
I put out a Twitter post to see if artists were having any success with Facebook or if MySpace was still where they were having most of their opportunities. Because if you haven't used Facebook, there's things about it that are much better than MySpace, but some of the ways it works are still a little quirky, to say the least, itself. So it's not the easiest to have a band account with, but they do have those options now. So I heard back from an artist who told me his experience using Facebook, and he had some good pointers, and I thought I'd share his email at this point right now. All right, this email is from Nate Trier. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I found that while MySpace is good for the initial contact with people, some might call this spam, Facebook is good for building on relationships with people you already know. So your primary relationship with them isn't as fans, but as friends. This can still be good. Your friends will be interested in your music because they're interested in you, and they might be more inclined to sell you to other people because they know you personally. My presence on Facebook isn't as a musician like it is on MySpace. It's as a friend who makes music. For Christmas, my ska band, Scantily Clad, whipped together a 3-song EP and sent it around to people on Christmas Day. Google Analytics showed that more listeners came from Facebook than from anywhere else by far. That said, outright self-promotion on Facebook seems a little crass. I pretty much expect bands I don't know to befriend me on MySpace as part of their master plan to increase their plays and friend count, but someone did this to me recently on Facebook and it seemed really obvious and out of place. I guess not all Web 2.0 sites are the same. Context matters. So I thought that was a really good email and a good point and definitely worth considering.
did he spell scantily with a K?
Let me check.
That's the most important question I
No,
have for
he
you.
didn't.
What?
I think you should change your band name.
But I thought that was good feedback, and having been on those services for CD Baby, I'm now helping manage those aspects of CD Baby, our social networking presence. And there are definitely plus and minuses to both, and definitely a way to use each, and that's unique. So definitely good advice there from Nate.
I know for me, within the past week, I've gotten tons of invites to shows on MySpace, and I pretty much just ignore those. I got 3 invites to shows from Facebook, and I was really trying to make an effort to go to all of them, and then I realized they were basically all at the same time on the same night. But at least I felt the connection was more authentic, so I was like, I'm going to go to these shows.
Because it's harder to make inauthentic connections on Facebook. They make it more difficult for you to just go out and spam people. You can't really. Mm-hmm. So like the connections that you make are usually people you know. And, and you end up getting updates and hearing about things and seeing pictures and seeing links and stuff from people that you know, that you care about. And because of that, like, you're going to have a much more reliable, response rate and a much more reliable, connection to these people.
I started out this talking about how I put the thing out on Twitter. And I know last time we talked, I told you I was getting on Twitter and checking it out. And I'm not a full-fledged addict yet, but it's going to be close.
Twitter's really cool.
It's like a gateway.
It's a gateway drug.
I did a little research on Twitter before we met today, and it's kind of cool. It was actually founded by three guys who are working for Odeo, which is a podcasting company. Of course, it just took off. I mean, it's like Facebook or MySpace or any of these other Web 2.0 companies that just caught on like wildfire. They only have 31 employees, but they have over 3 million accounts. One of the stats I saw is that in September of 2008, they had over 5 million visitors to their site in 1 month. And it's really, a lot of people are picking it up. Barack Obama has a Twitter account. Britney Spears has a Twitter account. The Office of the British Prime Minister have a Twitter account. It's cool. I mean, and they call it microblogging. That's because there's a 140 character limit for how much you can actually write. So it's not like a full-on blog where you can write paragraphs and paragraphs. You just write a couple of sentences about what you're doing and you move on, and you can follow people and see what they're up to.
So it's a lot like the, what do you call it, your Facebook status or whatever?
Yeah,
Just
if you've
more-
done that, it's very similar.
It's very similar, and at first I kind of thought it was the same thing. And part of the reason why, I think I mentioned in the last podcast why I decided, check this out, is because Ariel of Cyber PR, who's been on the podcast before, talks about it a lot as a big component. And so I'm like, all right, I want to check this out. And for me, a lot of the social networking stuff, which you may have heard me poo-poo in the past, what has made me kind of come around to more jumping on board with a lot of it is the fact that I can do it from my iPhone. And to me, the experience the content I'm generating onto it is different because I'm not always sitting in front of a computer when I'm typing it in, where I'm out in the world and stuff is happening and I make commentary, sometimes humorous and witty commentary.
Well, so just to be, devil's advocate here, so you can say, I just went to the bathroom, or I just bought a Pepsi, or
yep.
who
Some
cares?
people do
what
that.
does it do for my music?
Well, some people do that, and that's the thing. When I first started, and I emailed Ariel, I'm like, hey, I'm getting on Twitter, checking it out, like you say. She said, stick with it because it'll seem really stupid at first, but after like a month or so, it'll click and make
skill. I mean, I think of it as like sort of a glorified or underglorified haiku. You only have so many characters, and you have to say something profound, about your current status in the world, and you can, if you're going to do that from a musician's perspective, like if you think of a band you really like, and especially one you just discovered, like there's something mysterious and exciting about this band, about the people who are in this band, about how their music came about who they are, about what they do, about what they eat. Like these things are all kind of interesting. And I think that if it's done well, if they use, if it's amusing, if it's, dynamic and engaging, you're gonna generate followers, and your music fans may follow. They may want to know, why you're having a bad day, or
and then all the mystery will be gone, and 5 months down the line, they'll be like, I don't like this guy's music anymore. I figured him out.
I think there is a specific art to it, and I'm starting to discover that. I've been doing it since it's been about a month, maybe a little less, but kind of what helped some of the experiences, some of my other friends are on it as well, and so it helps if you know a couple of people that can kind of get you doing it to kind of figure it out if you're just kind of throwing up random things. But the thing that I liked after figuring it out more is that it's like this limitless conversation that's going on out there. And you can tap into it at any point, anywhere, on any topic. You can search Twitter like I've done, searching on who's talking about the podcast. And I've seen people talking about the podcast, and I've said, oh, hey, thanks for listening,
Is that like an infinite history? So like you can see everything that's
I don't know
ever
if it's
been said
infinite,
about?
but if you wouldn't want to go back infinitely.
Right.
I mean,
we don't want to hear what people are saying about our early episodes.
no.
That's true.
But so, I mean, it's interesting. And then start following people, and they're commenting, and you see them talking about, because you can see them talking to other people. Everything's public. So if you see somebody commenting to somebody else about something that's interesting to you, you click on their link and you find out, oh, this person does this, and I'd like to find out what they do. So it takes a while to kind of figure that out. You got to start following people, and then it becomes really cool. And then, the way I've been using it is I talk about basically everything from the podcast to music business to just my own personal life. And I kind of like that. Some people only do like business type stuff. But to me, I like it because it just makes me seem like a real person as opposed to someone who's just like, listen to our podcast. So whenever I do post about the podcast, it's something where I'm like, hey, you guys follow me. I figure you might be interested. This is part of what I do, And it actually becomes really interesting. So if you want to follow me, it's K Bruner, just KBREUNER. Yeah, it's kind of fun. And it's definitely good when you're places waiting, shopping where you don't want to be shopping. Wife takes you places, you're bored out of your mind. I started, since I know there's a lot of people that probably aren't on Twitter yet, I came up with my 5 starter tips for using Twitter. And I'm no Twitter expert, I'm still new, but I did notice a few things that I thought I would share. First one I mentioned, you gotta hang in there. It's gonna take a little time to figure it out. It'll seem stupid at first, and then once you kind of get the hang of it and just keep doing it, it starts to make a little more sense, and then you can see how it's useful and different from like just your Facebook updates does. The second one was follow people that are talking about things that interest you, and don't be upset when they don't follow you back. That's one thing you gotta remember, that you see everybody's posts. There's no filter. And there was somebody who was following me that I stopped following them because they just posted so much. And I thought they were really good at it, but it was just clogging my screen. So I stopped following them, and it's like, it's not that I'm saying I don't like you. You can only see so much. So don't be offended if someone doesn't follow you back. Third one is don't use it for shameless self-promotion. If all you're going to get up there is like, listen to my album, you're just wasting your time. So don't do that. The fourth one is it's a great tool to develop a story mentality. And that's probably why I like it the most. I should have made that number one. Where I'm walking around through my day, and it's kind of like an exercise in how can I spin this into a short little blurb that sounds interesting.
Yeah, totally.
And so that's kind of something that once I got how it works, that I thought was a really cool exercise, and just trying to get your brain to always think in that story mentality, because, it forces you to take the mundane and try and make a funny or interesting post.
Even if all you think of is like something mundane, like there's always something you can use to spice it up. Like if you're like, I'm having my morning coffee, that's kind of mundane and boring. But if you're like, I'm having my morning coffee, I hope I don't burn my tongue, there's a little bit more interest there. And then if you take it to the next level, like I'm having my morning coffee, oh darn, I just spilled it all over my lap.
And I don't think you have to feel like every post has to be gold. That's why I'd like, to see if there's other musicians out there that are doing it. I'd like for them to, connect with me, because I'm curious at what they're doing. Because some musicians I've seen are doing it in an interesting way, and some it's, they don't really grab your attention. But, if you're an artist and you're working on a project, or, there's ways to make that whole process sound interesting and make people want to follow along. And, it's microblogging. It's not a big of an effort as podcasting or as doing a blog, but it's quick
a good place
and easy.
Good place to start. It's really not complicated. I mean, that's the nice thing about it. I mean, Facebook seems complicated to me, and I've been on it for like a year, and I still don't get it. MySpace seems complicated still, but like Twitter seems kind of easy.
Yeah. And my 5th beginner tip, you need to remember, even the replies you make to people, unless you do a direct message, they're in a public forum. Anyone can read them.
Don't post your phone number.
Day one, I signed up for Twitter. I did a little search on something and found somebody talking some trash about something that really should have been in a private conversation. And we'll just leave it at that. I found it very entertaining. So those are my tips, and I definitely recommend getting on Twitter. And if you're signing up and saying, hey, I'm new on Twitter, and message me and need any pointers, let me know. It'd be fun to help you out and make conversation with you. It'd also be interesting to hear any stories about Twitter. If you're using Twitter, if you've had some sort of success story or another tip that you might have, call in our listener line at 206-426-5683, and that number's on our website as well, cdbabypodcast.com. And speaking of the listener line, we are going to get into some of your phone calls right now.
CD Baby Podcast.
Message line
206-426-5683.
The number you have dialed
206-426-5683.
Oh, hi, CD Baby Podcast. Tim Tamashiro calling from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I'm a CD Baby artist, and I just finished listening to the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast number 41, and you're talking about not-so-secrets revealed. I'm a Canadian national radio broadcaster and also a singer, so I'm not a real musician. But anyways, I just wanted to let you know about a little thing that I did a few years back, where I recorded a holiday album and approached a national store chain here in Canada called Licenza Lingerie, which is owned now by the people that own Victoria's Secret, and basically said, well, you know what, you sell CDs in your stores, so why not sell mine? And it took 7 months, but I talked them into it, and I sold them about 20,000 copies of my albums, and they distributed them to 192 stores across this great land of Canada, and that was pretty well the only CD they played that particular year. So there's lots of different ways to get out there. My advice is to ensure that you get your music where people go, not only where music is available. Thanks.
Hey, what's up, CD Baby? This is Zodiac. I've been a happy customer of you guys since about 2007. A funny story I got, actually, about this music stuff is I was a little bit leery at first about signing up with cdbaby.com and getting a digital barcode uploaded so that you guys could send my stuff out to these 55 companies that you did. I was a little bit leery about it at first, but then I said, you know what, let me go on and do it. So I paid the $50, total. And immediately after uploading my album 666, the dirty version, onto cdbaby.com, I started getting thousands and thousands of hits from everywhere, like France, from iTunes Euro, people who checked out Bitmonk, people who checked out Napster. And now, from all this digital sales I've got through your company and all the promotion, I've actually gotten a chance to start my own production company. And that's just a quick story for you from Zodiac that shows that, man, you can never be leery or never be second-guessing trying to do some extra promotion and trying to get your stuff out there, because you just never know what type of help can push you to the next level in your career. So once again, CD Baby, thank you from Zodiac, and I'm going to stay a certified customer for the rest of my life. Peace.
Hi, I'm calling to tell a little story about how I learned a lesson in the industry. I was about 17 years old. I had a hit single, or so I thought, and just knew it was Grammy material. Took it up to the radio station to get it played. Didn't hear back from them for a couple of days, and started calling up there trying to find out what's going on. Well, come to find out, they weren't going to play my song. And so I demanded that if they weren't going to play my song, that I get my music back. And the end result was me having my attorney write them a letter. I ended up getting the music back after all. First they were saying they couldn't find it, but the end result was not only my music not getting played, but a bad relationship with the program director for several years, and I live in a small town, so it just wasn't a good look all around.
Hi, this is Glenda Rose, and I have a relaxation CD I'll call Escape. I think the funniest thing that happened while recording the relaxation CD is that everybody got so relaxed that everybody was kind of nodding off and kind of sleeping, trying to stay awake during the CD taping because it is to relax. And so I proved that it is relaxing. So when you're taping a relaxation CD, make sure that everybody can stay awake and don't get too relaxed.
That's some good advice. Don't listen to that CD while you're driving.
Yeah. That would be pretty funny to be part of a session and turn around, kind of wake up and everyone's just laying there asleep. I'm sure it happened a lot in the 60s.
The girl that sent her CD to the radio station,
I thought it was kind of funny that going back and going, if you're not going to play it, give it back to me.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. They don't give stuff back.
Hey, she got it back.
Yeah, but that's probably why she had the bad relationship with the dude. Because they're used to taking it, and either they like it and they'll add it to their playlist, or they're just going to throw it out or go to the used CD store and sell it to someone.
Which she knows now.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that somebody actually went in there and demanded it back.
Yeah. But I think that's a good. I learned that lesson, not the hard way, but it just was a fact I learned at some point. You know, if you're going to send out radio promo stuff or even just regular promo CDs, expect that you're not going to get it back, and they'll probably sell it.
And never pick a fight with a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the message selling 20,000 copies to the store, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Just going into the store and asking, it gets harder and harder because at that point it didn't sound like they were owned by Victoria's Secret, but as some of those smaller chains get bought out, those kind of things get harder and harder to accomplish. But it's a good lesson, just like before Christmas we had the message from Mr. Billy and how he went up to the people at the Santa thing and ended up selling a bunch of albums. So you never know, just go ask. So if you want to give us a call on the listener line and tell us a success story or a mistake or weigh in on Twitter, again, that number is 206-426-5683. Lastly, I just want to say before we wrap up that we had a whole bunch of emails, people wanting some of the question and conversation starters that Alex Steininger, who was the publicist on episode 40, he was talking about how, Chris, he gave you these list of questions and kind of things to think about in order to help develop your story. He emailed us some of those and gave us permission to distribute them. So we are going to post that on the podcast website, so you can go there and check them out. There'll be a link to it from the notes for this episode under episode 42, and we'll also have it on our resources page. So check that out. And
I would say if you're going to use those questions to try and develop your story, keep in mind to almost like a brainstorming session, write too much rather than too little, and then have someone else sift through it with you and whittle it down to something really good.
Yeah, and I think what to me is the most important thing is more than just writing a bio. It's trying to draw out more of your story and kind of being able to look at it on paper and go, oh, yeah, there it is. So check that out, and unless you guys have any other comments, statements. All right, that's it. You've been listening to the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast, broadcasting from Portland, Oregon, USA.